Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. And here we go with another one of those long intros because there is so much to get out. She is a TV personality, an actress, a podcast host, and now Scheana Shay is adding, ready for this one, New York Times best-selling author to her list of accomplishments thanks to her new memoir, My Good Side. Scheana is best known to audiences in the Bravo-verse for her unfiltered, no-holds-barred personality on Vanderpump Rules, which ran for an impressive 11 seasons. On VPR, as those in the know called the show. We saw the Azusa native go through everything from being single to getting married, as well as being involved in a very public cheating scandal. It has been quite the whirlwind. Sheena, welcome to Group Text.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, that's a lot in one intro.
Yes, I know. Thank you.
But I want to get right into My Good Side.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Today marks the 1-month anniversary of its release. Did you have any clue? I mean, we all hope, but do you have any clue that this was going to blow up like this?
I mean, yes and no. I knew there would be certain stories I've told in this book that would definitely garner more attention than others. I knew some of it might be a bit controversial, but at the end of the day, I felt like this is my story. It's, almost 40 years of my life. It's my memoir, and I'm just going to put it all out there and see what hits.
But suddenly you're like, New York Times best-selling author. I know when that's happened to me the first time, you are not expecting that. And it is really a moment.
Yes, no, that was one of the best phone calls I've ever received in my life, other than maybe a positive pregnancy test, That was incredible. I knew that the story was good enough to make a bestsellers list, but I didn't know if it actually would. I didn't know if people would actually buy it, if it was going to resonate. And I'm just so grateful that it has.
Because it's that gulp moment, like when you hand in the final and you get the gal and everyone's like, "Okay, here's the baby."
Literally, there were so many times where I'm like, do I hit send? Do I change anything? Do I reread the whole book again before I send it? And it was like, I could go back and forth for years, changing the stories, adding more detail, taking out this name, changing this. But I had to hit send eventually. There was a
Mhm.
deadline, and we did it.
I know for me at one point, I'm like, "I can't read this again."
Same.
Don't make me read this again.
No, after I did the audiobook, I'm like, I am so proud of this story, but I don't want to read it again.
Like, enough already.
Yeah.
The word candid, uh, comes to mind,
Uh-huh.
shall we say, when describing the book. Why was now the right time to do it?
It's something that has always been in the back of my mind. I've had a running note in my phone for about a decade. One day when I write a book, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to talk about this and that. And I always felt like I need to wait for Vanderpump Rules to be done before I can actually write the book, thinking that maybe it would be more of a tell all. But then when I met with my agents, we talked about just career aspirations and whatnot, and they had brought up a book. They're like, why are you waiting? First of all, it doesn't need to be a tell all, it's a memoir that is going to be part of my story that I tell. But also knowing how long it takes just in the process from the first meeting to getting it actually in print, it could be 2 years. So they're like, let's just get the ball rolling now. And I swear we could not have timed this better if we tried. It just worked out the way it was supposed to. And yeah, crazy.
Crazy. What was your process? Like you said, you had a bunch of different notes and stories you knew you wanted to tell. How did you put them in order? Because part of the thing with books that are kind of memoirs is how do you want to tell the story? Because you know the stories you want to tell. How do I make it make sense?
Right. And that's why I felt like I needed to collaborate with someone because I'm like, I know all of these things, like you just said, that I want to talk about, but do we start from childhood? Do we go into Vanderpump Rules right away and then be like, but let's take you back? I'm like, I don't know how to write a memoir. I am a good writer. I have a degree in broadcast journalism. I don't know how to structure a book. I don't know how long chapters are supposed to be. So, collaborating with someone was definitely something I needed to do for my first book. I don't know that I would ever do that again because I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
I have a writing partner, so I always collaborate because I believe to tell any of these stories, it really takes 2 eyes. 'Cause
Yeah.
what makes sense in our brain
Mhm.
doesn't come out sometimes right on paper because they don't have the working knowledge of how the story happened.
Totally. And that's where my manager, Mark, came in clutch. He was such a huge asset to this book, working with me for going on 13 years now, and just knowing me as well as, my mom, if not better. She may get upset with me saying that, but I did need help in telling my story because some things that I may find super important and super interesting, maybe the average person doesn't, and something that I wouldn't think I should elaborate on, I should. So
Mhm.
it was definitely a collaborative effort. It was a lot of rewriting and just a lot of late nights going back and forth, but ultimately we got it all in, and one day I definitely would do this again.
That's amazing. You say, and this struck a chord for me personally in the book, for the first time, my goal isn't to be liked, it's to be understood. What does that mean for you?
I feel like being on reality TV, especially in an ensemble cast, you don't get the full story. You're
Well,
missing.
also, you're not in charge of the editing. You are at the
Exactly.
whim of someone else telling the story.
Absolutely. And so after 11 seasons of that, I felt like I needed to be the person to take back the narrative, take the reins, and tell my own story and put it out in my words, adding context. And I just wanted people to have more of the story. I'm like, look, if you read this book, you listen to the audiobook, you still don't like me, that is okay. If you don't like me for all of me, I am totally okay with that. But when you don't like me based on an edit or a couple things I said in interview bites that maybe weren't my original thoughts, that is where I get frustrated because I'm like, but you don't know the whole story. You don't know the reasons why you're saying you don't like me. So this book was my chance to tell my story in my words, adding more context, and hopefully people just understood where I was coming from a bit more. And I think they have.
Do you think you're hitting a point in your life? Because I know I'm hitting it where I just don't fucking care.
Yes, I am now 40 and I just don't fucking care. I'm like, here's my book. Here's all of me. Take it, leave it, don't care.
Right. Don't like me? Don't read it.
Yes, exactly.
Do you find that very liberating? I have in the past couple, for me, it's been a very late realization where I'm just at a point where, like, I don't fucking give a shit.
Yes,
You know,
I
I found
finally,
it very freeing.
yes, absolutely. This past year has been exactly that. But especially, I'm like, I'm not going into another decade of life worrying about what other people think of me. I can't care. The comment section, it is what it is. I don't look if I don't want to see something. There's always going to be trolls. But at the end of the day, I know who I am. I put out my story in my way, and take it or leave it. It's a great book.
And with that in mind, though, there has to be some things you don't tell. I mean, everybody has certain things that they do keep to themselves.
Yeah,
How did you decide what those things were?
I didn't. The one thing that I had kept to myself was chapter 16. And we did go back and forth. Do we put this in the book? Do we not?
Tell people what chapter 16 is.
That was the chapter about my husband having an affair when I was pregnant, which I did not find out for 2 years. And I mean, it really rocked my world. I didn't know if I was going to be strong enough to stay, if I was going to leave. It was a decision I needed to figure out for myself with zero outside opinions. And when the book sold, when we met with publishers, it had a vague description of what chapter 16 could look like. And the book sold. Literally the next day, I got a call. We want to take it off the market. Here is the offer. And it made me think, okay, well, if the book sold like immediately, without them knowing this information, maybe we don't need to put it in the book. Maybe we can just take it to the grave. But then as I really got into the process, had the first draft written of that chapter, I felt like, if I'm going to write a memoir, I can't leave out a literal chapter of the book and my life and something huge and devastating that I was able to overcome.
And public.
Exactly. So I really put it all out there and I put it all in the book. And I cannot think of anything that I left out. And that's one thing I've always prided myself on is being an open book. So even just keeping that to me, to myself, and not telling any of my family or anyone for a long time, that was out of character for me, but it was me protecting my daughter and my family and figuring out my next steps without anyone's opinions. So making the decision to put it in the book wasn't an easy one. It was probably 8 months of back and forth with my husband, draft after draft of the chapter. And finally, he just said, you know what? I don't want to read it. It is your story. I want you to put it out exactly how you want to put it out. I'll read it once it goes to print. And that's what he did.
Good. I want to roll back a little about your childhood because you talk about being bullied at school, and that turned you very much into a people pleaser and non-confrontational, and you say almost to a fault. What happened to make you realize that you needed to change in order to create a better life for yourself?
I think also my parents did notice something was up in eighth grade. I never told them about the extent of the bullying because it's like, what is my mom going to do? Go to school the next day and tell the girls to be nice to me? There was nothing my parents could do, I felt like. And so I just dealt with it and suffered in silence. And it was a very depressing time in my life. Thankfully, my parents saw that something was up and put me in a private school for high school. And those were some of the best years of my life. It was truly a life-changing moment to just get away from those people in my life. So I definitely couldn't have done it without my parents. But finally, just the older I got, the more I found my voice and stood up for myself. I think that definitely helped me later in life when dealing with mean girls yet again.
Right. So, and we did throughout your entire life, there's always the lunch table issue.
Yes.
It never goes away.
Right.
There's always, I mean, for me anyway, it never goes away. It's
Yeah.
always, I know that there's people in my life where I'm like, okay, mean girl, like,
Mhm.
don't need this. Your dating history is, it honestly, it reads like a body count from the 2000s red carpet guest lists. And
I know.
you should say that with pride. Jesse Metcalfe, John Mayer, Adrien Grenier, JC Chasez, most notoriously, Eddie Cibrian, who you met working at the Beverly Hills Cigar Club, who you didn't know at the time was married to Brandy Granville. Let's unpack this a little.
Okay.
You kinda have a type.
Yes. Facts.
You kind of have a type, and didn't necessarily make great decisions, which I can honestly say I made terrible. I mean, we used to joke, my friends and I would joke that my picker was broken.
Yes.
100%. How
Same.
did you get into this whole circle of of these men?
It started working at the private members cigar lounge in Beverly Hills. That's where I met
Which
several of
people
them.
Right, which people don't know was, like, the very cool, in place, members only,
Yes.
woo, at
I
the
mean, so
time.
much that I was like, I can't even say the name of this place because I'm sure I signed NDAs when I started working there. So I'm like, we'll just call it the Cigar Lounge.
Exactly.
But it still exists. People
Yes, it
still go
does.
there. And do you know where I'm talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
I know exactly what building it's in.
Yes, exactly.
It was upstairs over a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yes. Iconic. So it did start there. And then I met my first agent there. I met casting directors. I, kind of got in the right rooms I needed to from working there. And then just being in the club scene, just knowing what club to go to on what night, who was going to be there. And I guess I just caught the eye of some of Hollywood's finest.
with a small f.
Yes.
With a small but I mean, I know most of these guys, and they're actually really nice people, not necessarily people you wanna date, and
Correct.
they all did have reputations.
Hmm.
Did you realize that going in?
No, and honestly, I don't think I cared. I was 21. Actually, no, even before, because I remember with a couple of these guys, when I went out with them, I had a fake ID. So I'm like 19, 20, still in college when I met some of them, just going out with a fake ID. And literally, I'm at this club on Las Palmas called LAX, and I just see JC Chasez there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, NSYNC. And then we just ended up connecting and talking. And still to this day, like I saw him about a month ago, like still friendly. And yeah, it was really just from going out in Hollywood. I made so many connections, met the right promoters, door guys, DJs, and celebrities.
Yeah, I'm sure we know a lot of the same promoters. Were you one of those women, and even if it was fake confidence, that you would walk up to one of these guys in a bar, or you would wait for them to, like, stare back, look away, be signaled over? Because I was never confident enough to just walk up and be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" You know?
It would depend on the setting. Like there, I remember there was one time, and I never hooked up with him, but I wanted to catch his eye. I'm at this bar called the Dime on
I
Fairfield.
know the die. I know
Yes.
all these places, yep.
So I'm at the Dime, and Nick Lachey is there. And I'm like, oh my God, he's so hot. Like, how do I get his attention? And so I order a tall drink. I have a straw in it. I down the whole drink. I set it on the bar, and I'm like, one more. And I don't know how that just like would catch guys' attentions. Just like, oh wow, she can like put one back. I don't know that that's impressive by any means, but it worked. So like that was one little trick I'd have where I'm like, oh, I'm not like trying to talk to you, but like maybe you'll notice me. And just kind of you walk up to the bar, you catch their eye, but I usually would let them approach me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's man, you've had real confidence. That's very impressive.
I did in my 20s, not so much in my 30s and now 40s, but back then,
Now why? Why? You are much more accomplished, you are much more centered, you have your own resume to stand on, you're not, like, working at the cigar club or hot girl in the bar. Like, why don't you feel like you could well, first of all, you wouldn't now, but why you feel like you couldn't do that now?
I feel like doing reality TV, it can really beat you down in some ways, with your confidence when you are hearing all of the things that are quote unquote wrong with you. It's like I notice when I'm watching back the interviews that I'm like, oh, my lip is thinner on this side. Oh, my eyebrow. It's like you pick apart every little thing about yourself as well as the internet. They do that for you. So I felt like in that sense, being on TV for so long kind of took some confidence from me. But then also, I do feel like the last couple of years, I'm trying to start getting that back. I do feel confident in who I am as a mother now, but it's been a roller coaster. And it's a roller coaster I would ride over and over again because being able to be myself on a platform like reality television, as much as you're not always getting the whole story, I am able to tell my story, to raise awareness for mental health and to talk about things that are actually important. So it's a mix, I at some days I feel very confident and at some days I just do not.
And that's very normal. And
Yeah.
I'm sure people look at you and go, "Oh, she's beautiful, she's successful. Why would she have days that aren't that she doesn't feel confident?" And all I'm gonna tell you is once you have a teenager, you have no idea how much is actually wrong with you.
Ooh.
Starting with apparently you breathe wrong. Okay? You
Yeah.
breathe wrong. Just so you know, you
Uh-huh.
look at them wrong
Yeah.
and you're incredibly stupid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Things to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm luckily out of the stage where Cooper thinks I do everything wrong. Now
Uh-huh.
I just do certain now it's more like I don't understand things.
Yeah.
But yeah, as teenagers, I have a friend whose daughter literally got mad at her. She's like, "What am I doing wrong?" She's like, "Ugh, the way you breathe annoys me." So, just prepare yourself
Mhm.
because nothing can tear you down more than your own teenager.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just I'm giving you advice from the other side.
I appreciate it. Thank you. She
I'm
already does things like that. So,
Oh, have you gotten the eye roll?
yep. Oh, yeah.
How old is she?
She's 4.
Oh, they learn that in preschool, the eye roll and the deep sigh.
The oh, she was
The
grunting, just stomping around here this morning before summer camp, grunting, and I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, things to look forward to.
Yeah, because it just escalates, but
Yes.
they do come around. In true reality show fashion, you really lived your life out loud.
Mhm.
You decided to get married on the show. You your marriage disintegrated publicly on the show. You decided you were gonna get divorced on the show. How hard was it to make those kinds of life decisions with the camera up? And obviously, there are things you decided to do before. It didn't just dawn on you while the
Right.
cameras were rolling. How did you decide that, you know what, to get married is one thing because
Yes,
that's
that was
joyous.
easy.
That's easy. How did you decide to let people in on those moments? Instead of just saying, like, okay, we're getting divorced, you really let everybody in.
Yeah, and, also not always easy decisions when you are dealing with huge things like this, but at the end of the day, we signed up to film a reality show about our lives and to try our best to put 100% out there. So I kind of felt like I don't have a choice. This is what I signed up to do. This is what I'm going through. And I know that a lot of the things I'm going through are also relatable. So if I can put that out there and show someone that, I got through this, but I'm okay, you can do it too. That always helped me push through. The divorce with my husband, my first husband, that decision, putting that on camera genuinely happened in the moment.
Really?
I thought that conversation was going to be a reconciliation conversation. I thought we were going to get back on the same page. If anything, maybe he was going to admit he had an addiction problem and go to rehab. That was how I thought the conversation was going, and that was going to be the best and worst way that it would have ended.
Right.
And in those moments where I'm asking him, have you bought any pills? Have you done this? Have you done that? And he was just so convincingly lying to my face. I knew in that moment, this isn't a marriage I can continue in. This isn't someone I can have children with. This is only going to get worse as time goes on. So it was like in a split second in that moment, I was just like, I want a divorce. And I remember I even wrote about this in my book. My producer texted me the other day and he goes, "Am I the one who called you a cold-hearted bitch?" And I was like, "Yes, that was you." But I remember just looking at him in the corner of my living room and his jaw was just like on the floor when I said that. And he was like, "What a cold-hearted bitch." And then,
Now, wait, stop.
yes.
First of all, from a reality TV producer point of view, that's gold.
Yeah.
That is gold, and you know that.
Right.
That is gold.
Hmm.
When you said it, did you just were you shocked that you went, "I can't believe this just flew out of my mouth"?
Yeah. And then
A
watching it back and the sad music and he's packing his bags and it's like this wasn't even just my husband. This had been my best friend. This is someone I knew since we were teenagers. We went to high school together. I cheered at his football games. Like this wasn't an easy decision. I fought for that relationship for years. We were together 7.5 years. So putting that out there in that moment on national television, knowing 6 months later we're going to have to relive the whole thing. I mean, it was really, really difficult. And I felt like I blindsided him, and that was not my intention. But him lying to my face also kind of blindsided me. And so I knew in that moment, like there's no other decision I can make. Like we have to end this now.
So, you come up with the idea, not the idea. Let me rephrase that. You're having marriage problems. You are in the middle of a scene confronting him. In that moment, you decide enough.
Mhm.
And then your producer calls you a cold-hearted bitch. I would have been in tears that someone who's supposedly on my side or supposed to be supporting this, and by the way, has the knowledge of everything going on, not just what you know, would say that to you or say that to anyone in a show.
I think because, and this came up like later when we were doing interviews, it wasn't like in the moment he was like, "You're a cold-hearted bitch." It was months later. But once he understood more of the context, he goes, "Okay, I was just sitting here thinking like, wow, what a cold-hearted bitch." And I was like, "You thought that about me?" And he's like, "But now understanding the context, knowing that he was lying to your face and this was something, it was like I saw my whole future flash in front of my eyes that day where I'm like, okay, so then we're going to have kids one day and then you don't come home." And it was just so many things that I saw and I was like, I want out, I want out, I want out. And so once my producer understood that, he was like, okay, not the cold-hearted bitch I thought, but in that moment, it was genuinely like we scheduled a reconciliation scene to film and it just totally took a 180. But I knew in that moment, if you can lie to my face to the point where I'm like, oh, I believe you. If I didn't have other information, I would have just said, okay, then we're good. Like, let's get up back on track, move back in. But I knew I couldn't. I knew I deserved better and more. And that wasn't someone, unfortunately, that I could have children with and continue a life together.
When did you realize that it was enough? Not with the show. Like, I've had enough. It's 11 seasons. Just enough.
I mean, that decision was made for us. They
Yes.
decided to reboot the show. I would have kept doing it. I definitely thought at one point that we had another season in us and maybe that would be a farewell season. And then I thought at another point, this group is so fractured. There's no way it can continue like this. We're not going to be going on group trips anymore. It was just, we didn't know where to go. And that's why, like last season, I was a friend on the Valley because we were still thinking, oh, yeah, we're going to have another season. And I think that production really tried for as long as they could to be like, how are we going to do this? Is it a 6-episode farewell season? Is it just we film everyone individually and then they go their separate ways? And after several months and contracts are up, it was just like we can't do this anymore. And when I got the call, I was okay with it. I understood it and I was like, okay, time to close this chapter of my life, literally.
Do you feel good about that?
I do. Yeah, I think it came at the right time. I think if it was a couple years sooner, it would have hit differently. But thankfully, I've done a good enough job to also build a career outside of this show. So financially, I felt completely secure, which was a big thing. And I just personally in my life, when I got that call, I felt like I'm in such a good place working on the book. And it did feel like it was the right time.
What did you learn about yourself when you were writing the book?
Oh my gosh, so much. My strength. I've always known that I am a tough cookie and I am strong, but just going back and reliving every little thing that I've been through that I wrote about, I was like, dang, like good for you. You started here, here's where we are. And I was just really proud of myself for overcoming what I have, accomplishing what I have, and having the courage to put it on paper and put it out for the world. That's not an easy decision to make either, but I just felt like with this book, there's going to be so much more context added into my life, why I've done some of the things I've done, said some of the things I've said, and it just felt like the perfect time to fully tell my story.
Do you like yourself more now?
I do. Yeah, it just feels better having it all out there and being okay. Like, just it's okay to not be okay, but the fact that my husband and I were able to overcome infidelity, work towards a path of forgiveness, keep our family together, and somehow come out on the other side loving each other more, I am very proud of myself.
Okay, wrote down some separate questions.
Yeah,
So excuse me if I start jumping out of order. We'll make it all make sense.
all good.
Um, in the book, you talk about stuff that people are afraid to say.
Hmm.
One of the big ones being that Lisa Vanderpump was the puppeteer, pulling the strings.
Hmm.
When did you realize she was doing this, and how would she do this?
It was over phone calls. And in the beginning, I just felt like because I kind of was the outsider, I came over from Villa Blanca not having any friends at Sir other than Tom Sandoval. I felt like she was my mentor. She was guiding me. She was pointing me in the right direction. And I felt like I was getting special treatment. Like I was teacher's pet. I was the one getting the phone calls in the morning. So I'm like, oh, she's just trying to help me. And after, years of the show have now aired, social media is a thing, and people are giving their opinions on things that I've done and said on the show that maybe weren't my original thought or wasn't something that, I thought, oh, going into this scene, I should say this. No, it was suggested to me. So after several years of that, it got to a point where she wanted me to defend James Kennedy's behavior and words, fat shaming Katie Maloney. And that's where I just had to draw the line. I'm like, people are already saying that I'm not a girl's girl, that I'm just this like guy's girl who cares more about being friends with the guys. And this is something where what he said was not okay. I'm not going to support that behavior. I'm not going to encourage that behavior. And I'm not going to encourage him keeping his job at Sir when she says that she's uncomfortable with him still there. And in that moment, I kind of felt the switch from Lisa, where it was like, oh, you're not going to do what I'm suggesting you should do. And from then on out, I just felt like our relationship kind of changed. Lala became the favorite. At one point, I think Ariana was the favorite. And yeah, it just really had never been the same.
Did it hurt you?
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa wasn't just my boss at a restaurant or my producer on a show. Like, I genuinely felt like we were friends. Her daughter and I share a birthday. We were really close. And I just, like, I felt like part of that family for so many years. And then it really did start to change when I started to have my own voice and my own opinions, and they didn't always align with hers.
What's your relationship with her like now?
We haven't really talked for a couple years other than filming season 11 with her. I don't think I've really spoken to her outside of running into her at the Emmys or going to the Vanderpump Dog Gala.
How does it feel when you had to go back and shoot scenes with her? I mean, I know for me, I would be seething and having to, my jaw would be clenched.
Yeah, it started to feel unnatural. Like there was one, it was either season 10 or 11, I don't remember. And I had an interview scheduled that day. And when you have your interviews, you have glam. It's a whole day process. And that day I get a call from one of my producers and they're like, "Hey, we have to cancel your interview today. Move it to tomorrow." I couldn't get it was the whole thing with the glam team. And they're like, "But we need you to go to Lisa's house and film this scene. Like it's very important." So I'm like, okay, fine. I call my glam and I was like, "Hey, we got to reschedule. I don't know for when, but interviews are canceled today." I drive over to Villa Rosa. I sit down with Lisa and I'm like kind of scared because I'm like getting called into the principal's office, like I don't know what is so important that they needed to cancel a full interview. And so I sit down and I was just like, and she goes, "So, why are you here? What did you want?" And I'm like, wait, excuse me? And I was like, I was told that you wanted to talk to me. And she's like, why would I want to talk to you? Like, why would I have you here? It was so dismissive. And I'm like, I'm very confused right now. And I'm like, I'm not trying to break the fourth wall, but like, I don't know why I'm here. So I like yell at my producer and I'm like, hey, am I missing something here? And then she gets mad because I'm breaking the fourth wall. But I'm like, I'm genuinely confused. I was told I had to cancel my interview because I needed to be here. And she's like, but like, it made me feel so stupid because it was like, why would I have you at my house? Why would I want to see you? So in the moment, I had to make up a reason of why I wanted to see Lisa. And I'm like, well, as if I don't have my own mother to call for advice, I said, I've just always really looked up to you and your relationship with Ken and how you've parented and, parenting differences with Brock. Like I was pulling something out of my ass of why I needed to talk to Lisa. And it was just like moments like that where it just felt forced, unnatural, and it was really frustrating because I didn't want to cancel my whole day to then have to reschedule the glam and do all of that, drive to Burbank from the west side. I mean, it was a whole thing. So, yeah.
Do you feel like reality TV has really lost the reality part? That it is so for the cast members, n very manipulated, plus also then you add on the editing.
I think it can be. I think it depends on the show. I mean, just having friends on so many different reality shows, there's so many similarities. But that's what comes with, not being a producer on your own show. You don't have any control over any of that. This is what we signed up to do. And I mean, I would do it 100 times over again. I take the bad with the good because at the end of the day, I love doing reality TV. It stresses me out at times, but I love having a platform to be able to talk about the things like you said in my book that do have a stigma around them or taboo that people are afraid to talk about. I'm not afraid to talk about anything. And so I think that someone like me who is an open book on reality TV, I can really help people feel less alone with their own struggles. And that's what fuels me and keeps me going.
Scheana, you are an absolute joy to
Oh,
talk to,
thank you.
and you are incredibly impressive,
Thank you.
and, this has been this has been fun. This has been great for me. I've really enjoyed this.
So I have to tell you something before
Uh-oh.
no, it's good.
Whenever
So
someone says that, I go, "Uh-oh."
my mom saw your name on my calendar today and was like, "Oh my God, you're doing her podcast." And I guess your mom was friends with a man named Mark Tan.
Yes!
Okay.
Mark
So,
Tan, I remember him from my childhood.
yes. So, same. So, if it wasn't for Mark Tan throwing a Halloween party in Las Vegas, my mom would have never met my biological father.
Is that a good thing or a bad
It's
thing?
a great, I mean, I'm
Okay.
here, like I wouldn't be here if it
But you know
wasn't
what I
for,
mean.
yes, but it was just like she said that and she was like, yeah, she's like, Mark and Joan were friends. And I'm like, that is so crazy. Small
Well,
world.
very small world. Again, another reason I am glad we have met. Thank you
Me
so
too.
much.
Thank you so much. This was so good.